Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, Soul Family. My name is Rebecca, your Vibe mentor. Let's talk today about money mindset and finding our money blocks. Whether or not you struggle to receive money, or rather you struggle to expand into the abundance birthright that you know we have been promised, this video is for you. For most of us who've experienced complex trauma, we already know that we are challenged in our receiving, but this is a pervasive issue across the globe. Many of us know that we were destined for higher levels of expansion and abundance, and yet still struggle to figure out what it is that keeps us from attaining that highest level. Some of us will have studied under money coaches who teach us to look into our childhood and find those common statements or beliefs that our parents used to use. Things like money doesn't grow on trees, or you have to work hard for money, or money is the root of all evil, or dare I even say that some of us, believed that rich people were bad. And if there was any level of spirituality in your family, you likely received the subtle subconscious message that if you desire more wealth and abundance, you are shallow or not spiritual. And yes, if you did hear any of these things in your childhood, you likely did adopt those beliefs. But if you're anything like me, you've done all of the basic work around finding money blocks or reshaping your money mindset, and you still find that there's something standing in the way. Maybe you studied the law of attraction, or if you're starting a business, you took all of the online business courses. You know what strategies to employ. Maybe you studied selling or marketing or languaging, and you still can't quite put your finger on what it is that holds back the floodgates of that abundance you know you want to draw into your life. You may be aware of the promise that if you ask, you will receive. And maybe after you're asking, you even receive something that seems like the opposite of what you were calling in. This, of course, can lead to frustration, loss of hope, or maybe even blaming God. And that's why I wanted to share with you that not all money blocks are related to money directly. That oftentimes when we are in session healing trauma, we are getting into the body, we're finding that there are beliefs and memories and experiences that live in bodily memory that are outside of our conscious thought. Oftentimes, they seem illogical, the way that the subconscious brain or body or inner child has made connections between an experience and the established belief that then becomes a block that really wasn't related to money in the first place. Very few people talk about the connection between money and relationship, and even fewer people talk about how complex trauma is a relational wound. Whether or not you grew up in a home where you didn't feel safe, seen, heard, cared for, or loved does not matter. If that is the case, you most definitely experience complex trauma, but it can also be created just by the hustle and grind culture of our world today. Societal ways of living are not sustainable, not healthy, and create the same changes in the brain and the body as does complex trauma. These changes influence the way that we engage with the world and the way we connect with others. And as it turns out, there is a direct correlation between your ability to receive money and maintain or cultivate relationship. If we have an unhealthy relationship with life or with people, we will have an unhealthy relationship with money and our ability to receive. This showed up in my life when I wanted to start a business. Luckily, I was aware of complex trauma and somatic healing and utilizing trauma spotting on a regular basis. So I was able to work through some of the standard challenges that we face, which are the fear of being seen, the fear of rejection, the fear of criticism or judgment. And those were really difficult things to move through. It took quite a bit of time. But once I had moved through those things and I was diligently showing up every day and allowing my light to shine and allowing myself to be seen unapologetically, even in the face of judgment and criticism, I still struggled to receive and couldn't quite put my finger on why. And at that time, I didn't quite understand how hyper independence and type A personality, high achieving, do it all on my own, and keeping a distance in relationship was actually impacting my ability to connect with others and to receive abundance through others. You see, we all have something called an attachment style. For those of us who grew up with parents who were emotionally unavailable, we will become hyper independent and develop a belief that we are all on our own. And this leads to an avoidant attachment style. For those of us who grew up with parents who were both the source of love and pain, this creates a push-pull dynamic in our desire for love and connection, with the simultaneous need to protect and defend against the very thing that we desire. This leads to something called a disorganized attachment. And parents who were loving at times and yet critical or dismissive or emotionally unavailable will cause anxiety and distress in our bodies. And this leads to something called an anxious attachment style. The way that we learn to attach to our parents is the way we then move through life and learn to attach to others or formulate relationships with others. And unfortunately, anything outside of a secure attachment causes us to distrust and struggle with relationships. Now, here's the catch. You don't just have a job or a business that you run. You are not in a product or service business. You and me and we collectively are in the business of relationships, regardless of what our goal or task at hand is that day, which means that if we have anything but a secure attachment style, we are going to struggle to receive love, connection, and therefore abundance. Coincidentally, the highest state of the nervous system is known as love and connection. The lowest state is known as the dorsal vagal state, which is associated with fawn and freeze. In the middle is something called fight or flight, which most of us are familiar with. Now, you can imagine if you are in fawn or freeze or fight or flight, that it's going to make it very difficult for you to establish connection with others. Unfortunately, those changes that we talked about that happen in the brain cause us to be over-reliant on our limbic system, which is in charge of fear and emotional responses, protection, and survival. And because of that over-reliance, that means we will perceive threat where there is none, which includes our relationships. Have you ever had somebody look at you and not smile, or maybe it seems like they're looking past you and they don't acknowledge you? How many times did you make that mean something about you, or what a bad person they were, or maybe you said something wrong, or maybe they don't like me anymore? That would be a really good example of a miscommunication or perceived threat where there is none. Oftentimes, if we would just have a conversation with them and say, hey, I saw you on 2nd Street at noon yesterday and looked like you were upset with me. Everything okay? They'd be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even see you. I was looking at the mailman over your shoulder, right? This is an opportunity for us to recognize our attachment style, our trauma response to relationships, and our fear and the way that we tend to pull away or push away or have anxiety where it's not necessary. And all of this is preventing healthy, secure attachment, which also prevents the flow of abundance. And yes, while God is capable of writing you a check and dropping it in the mail tomorrow, typically God works through human agency. The divine works through other people. We are made for connection. We are interlinked, so much so that the brain will actually starve to death if we don't have love and connection. So when I say that you need to have relationships with others so that you can receive abundance, it's not from a place of selfishness or from a place of wanting to take from others, but rather the equal exchange, energetic exchange that happens when we are in relationship. Secure attachment, especially. If we're in an unhealthy attachment, there usually is taking and not an equal give and take or reciprocation. When we want to receive abundance, we must learn how to discern what relationships are healthy for us, to be boundaried so that we only enter into reciprocating energetic relationship, and also so that we are loving of ourselves enough that we don't self-sacrifice or people please or overgive. Coming from that securely attached place means that we are in a reciprocating relationship, which means that opens the flow energetically as well as abundantly or financially or in any other aspect of your life. Now, here's another catch. When you've experienced complex trauma, with that comes along the beliefs that maybe I'm not enough, or the world is not enough, or people are not enough, or there's just not enough out there for me. And we want to really get intimately into the body and connect with those parts of us that hold those beliefs to be able to shift that. That's the work I do with trauma spotting. But really, at the end of the day, once you've done that work and you're able to work with the part that's inside of you that holds the key to that subconscious program or that belief or that trauma response, the next step is moving into the belief or the knowing or the awareness that nature is inherently abundant. Mother Earth, look at the way she produces. Fruit trees grow so much fruit, not even a whole family could eat it. Flowers grow in clusters. Rain pours in buckets. There is an overflow in every aspect of nature. And we are one with nature. We are part of nature. We are from nature. We are nourished by nature. Remembering that the divine is abundant. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It is infinite. It is always there. And just like there is always the next breath of oxygen, there is also your next dollar or your next bill or your next grocery load or your next gas tank, whatever it is. Let's move even higher. We want to work with the expansion, right? The next, instead of just 10% growth in your business, let's go for 10x. That's the kind of abundance. Think about that fruit tree. Think about a family that lives on a farm that has an apple tree. That whole family could not eat all of those apples on the tree. That's called overflow. That is the nature of nature. That is your nature. That is the nature of the divine and this life that we live in. But so long as we hold this relationship or a lack of relationship, we will struggle to receive and allow that flow and of overflow to move in and through us. Remembering in and through us means that connection. We allow and facilitate the continuous flow that wants to move through all of us. We need each other far more than we have ever realized. Now, I will also say, I am not oblivious to the fact that there are evil people in the world. There is darkness. And unfortunately, those people may have experienced so much pain that they will not be able to turn back or turn it around within this lifetime. And for those people, I send love, I say thank you, and I trust that they are in the hands of the divine. But beyond that, it is important to know that scientifically proven 56% of the population, the world's population, is capable of healthy, secure attachment. That means basically you've got a 50-50 chance in meeting someone who is going to be good to you. So really look at your beliefs around, I can't trust people, or I'm all on my own, or this is all up to me. People are not good. People hurt me. People abandon me. Whatever your beliefs are, really look at those and know, yes, there is a part of you that had an experience that justifiably so developed that belief, but that's an older part of you and you're no longer there anymore. And so we want to work with the bodily memory and the parts inside of you that hold the keys to those beliefs so that we can shift into knowing that I have just attracted the same kind of person because I have held that belief, that I can move into healthy, secure attachment. And not just I can, I will, I am in healthy, loving, supportive, abundant, reciprocating energy in relationship with others. So take a minute to notice, where does your money come from? Do you have a job with a boss? Are you on your own? Did you start your own business? Who is the conduit that you connect with that would bring that abundance to you? And again, not from a place of taking. I am very much a proponent of giving. And there's a reason why they say it is better to give than to receive, because the more you give, the more you receive. And again, this is not about receiving. It is about being in that giving, reciprocating energy. So look at who is connected to your source of abundance in this moment. Who is the provider of your paycheck? How do you perceive and receive that relationship? Do you have a boss? Do you have a good relationship with that boss? Do you fear your boss having authority over you and the ability to take money from you? You're then in a insecure attached relationship with that person. And so we want to look at, are you anxiously attached? Do you have a disorganized attachment? Really get into the body. This is the work I do with clients. I can't fully walk you through all those steps because it's a bit complex, but know that you can shift and change that relationship. Now, if you cling to the story, this guy's a bad guy, he's always going to be a bad guy, and I'm always going to be under his thumb. Sorry, if you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. If you have your own business and you're putting out products and services, do you question whether or not your product or service is good enough? Do you question whether or not people are going to receive it? Do you question whether or not they will reject it or criticize it? Do you fear criticism? Again, look at your stories and your relationship with these people or these dynamics in your life and recognize these are not necessarily truths. These are beliefs. These are experiences. Everything that we feel, all these emotions and sensations that come up in our body are based on the patterns of our prior experiences. It is not the reality of this exact situation. More often than not, the gift of the trigger is to help us see where we need to heal, where we are no longer free. And this is how we become limitless beings. This is how we move from limited to limitlessness, because we are limitless creators. And that is our birthright. That is our intended design. These relationships offer us the gift of seeing what is inside of us. What do I have to move through? What do I need to shift and change so that I can then shift the dynamics with the relationship, and therefore my relationship with abundance and the flow of life that is always available to you if you allow it to move through you and into others. Another example would be taking on too much, overgiving, people pleasing. Do you do things to make sure that you don't upset people or to prevent rocking the boat? Really, again, look at how you self-abandon in those moments, what causes and drives that behavior, and how we can move into more secure attachment with the people around us. In all of these scenarios, we are coming from an activated nervous system state. An activated nervous system is very contracted and cutting us off from the flow of life. In this state, we will continue to attract more of the same to help us see where we need to heal. Remembering that that activated state is the exact opposite of rest, digest, healing, growth, and repair, which means we are not magnetic, receiving, allowing, or receptive. So here are 5 steps of things that you can do to start to cultivate healthy connection and relationship today, and therefore break through your money mindset and money blocks. So the first step to break through these money blocks and to shift your mindset around money and abundance and relationship is to recognize there likely is some healing that needs to happen. Somatic healing is very, very important because the body keeps the score. So we have to work with the body. It goes so much farther beyond just breath work and yoga. We need to utilize something like trauma spotting, where we're getting into the sensations in the body, working with the parts and understanding how they hold the keys. That bodily memory causes what we call a somatic flashback, or it's almost like an involuntary response in how we respond to people. We want to close those stress responses that live in the body so that we can start to come from our executive functioning brain, our smart brain, and behave the way we know we want to instead of our subconscious programs and that triggered bodily memory. From there, there's 5 other really easy steps of things that you can do to start to shift your relationships today. And I promise you, they are so easy. The first one is just give a smile. Say hello to people. As you walk down the street, just remember that every single person is doing what they think they need to do to survive. Their behaviors are not malicious. They're not after you. They're not trying to hurt you. They really truly believe that they need to behave in the way that they are behaving to keep themselves safe and to survive. And sometimes all it takes is a smile to melt that ice or that wall that they've got themselves hiding behind. We can also remember that deep down inside, there is a little boy or a little girl who's likely hurting too, likely dealing with the same traumas and triggers. And at the end of the day, all they want is loving connection too. So give them a smile. It's free. You never know how far just a compliment of someone's shoes can go. And in some of my darkest days, when I questioned whether or not life was worth it, a smile from a stranger was enough to give me hope. You can not only help heal them, but you will be healing yourself as well in that giving and reciprocating energy. And sometimes people won't smile back. Sometimes they'll be so caught off guard, they don't even recognize what just happened until you've already passed them. Don't let that stop you. Don't let that cause you to not smile at the next person, because after a couple people, odds are you're going to start to see people warm up, and you will catch somebody that you have, and you will recognize that you have completely shifted someone's day. That will not only give you more momentum to do it again next time, but also help to just restore your faith in humanity a little bit. Step 2 is document your triggers. As you smile at someone or you try to compliment their shoes, how do they respond to you? Do they not respond? What comes up in you? Triggers are information, gifts that show you where you are not free, so that you can step into becoming that limitless creator you know you're made to be. Dig into attachment styles. Understand your attachment style. When someone you love leaves, do you feel anxious, or are you the one to leave and you need a lot of space and time? There are a lot of resources out there around how to understand your attachment style and how to heal them. Number 4, listen to your body. Feel those sensations. Sensations in your body are like messengers. They are beautiful friends who love you so much. Even if it's an uncomfortable sensation, have gratitude. approach it with so much appreciation and stillness and silence, and just let that sensation speak to you. With enough time and presence, they will share the roots of your challenges and how to heal them. And number 5, most importantly, don't try to do it alone. Yes, a certain amount of isolation is necessary for recovering our energy, from pulling ourselves out of other people and hearing our own voice and understanding where the boundary of me ends and they begin. Yes, all important. But you will get stuck if you stay in isolation. We are made for love and connection. Complex trauma is a relational wound and requires relationships to heal, not to mention to facilitate the flow of life and abundance that we are made to share with each other. And of course, as always, if you need any help with this, that is my job. Your purpose is my purpose. I am here for you to help you flourish. And remember, seeking support is a sign of strength, not weakness. An unknown author said, the most significant personal growth often happens within the context of deep, meaningful, personal relationships. I love you, my friends. And good luck breaking through those money blocks and stepping into the abundance you know you deserve. Namaste.